And so I want you to think about the best day that you had at work. Maybe it wasn't your best day. Maybe it was a really great day where you left your whatever you were doing for work that day and you were feeling purposeful, you were feeling fulfilled, you were feeling energized, you were feeling engaged in some way. And you thought to yourself, man, if I could have a day like that, if I could repeat something like that every day, I would really love my job. What happened? Who was involved in that experience? What specifically happened? Chances are, I'm not a mind reader or fortune teller, but chances are it had something to do with one of these three things. It had something to do with cause. So you felt a sense of connection to purpose and meaning. You felt like you were making a contribution or having an impact in some way. It probably had something to do with community. You felt a sense of genuine connection to the people that you worked with. You felt seen and heard and appreciated and valued and recognized in some way that was meaningful to you. Or it had to do with your career growth and development. You accomplished something that was meaningful. You made progress on a project that had been dragging along for months and you felt like, oh, I finally got that done, or I finally moved that along. Maybe you got to use your strengths, or maybe you got to in some way learn something that lit you up or energized or excited you in some way. So cause, community, and career. These are three things that we know drive engagement at work. And they're things that people want regardless of generation. I think one of the mistakes employers have made, especially lately, is we've tried to figure out how can we segment everybody? How can we look at all of the individuals? There's something to be said for individualization, customizable things within organizations. But I think in the midst of our focus on that, focusing on what does Gen X want, what do the boomers want, what does Gen Z want, what do millennials want, and we break everybody up, we lose sight of the fact that there's certain key fundamentals and basics that are true of all human beings, regardless of the year they were born or any other factor. And that is they want to work in a space that is purposeful. They want to have opportunities to feel seen, heard, recognized, and connected. And they want to have opportunities to grow, learn, and contribute. Now, a lot of employers right now are struggling with this. They're trying to figure out what can we do to engage our people? What can we do to retain people? What can we do to recruit people? And in the midst of the Great Resignation and things like bare minimum Mondays, which I just learned about yesterday, it can be really hard. And what's happening is we know that a lot of people are disengaged. And in his book, The Truth About Employee Engagement, Patrick Lencioni writes about these three factors that contribute to disengagement and what he calls job misery. And they are irrelevance, anonymity, and immeasurement. And I'm going to break each one of these down. And we're going to have a solution for each one of these, because it's one thing to talk about theory. It's another thing to talk about practical application. And I'm really big on combining those two things. So what we mean by irrelevance, when people feel irrelevant at work, they can't answer the question, who am I helping and why does it matter? They can't answer that question clearly. They show up each day, they're not really sure why what they're doing matters. They're not really clear on the impact that it's having. And so they show up each day and they just do their thing, they do their job. And at a certain point, they think to themselves, why am I even bothering with this? What does this even matter? What is this even contributing to? I have no idea. And so one of the things that we can do to help people connect to a sense of relevance is connecting them to cause. So the antidote to irrelevance is cause or purpose. And one of the things we can do as HR leaders who are training up managers within our organizations is invite them to have conversations with their people. And by the way, start having these conversations at the senior leadership level and asking yourself this question, to invite people to think about a high point moment in their work where they felt a sense of purpose, they felt like they were making a contribution, no matter how small, they felt like who they are or what they were doing mattered. Invite people to share a story about that. Maybe it happened in the job they're currently in, maybe it happened 10 years ago, but get them connected to a sense of when they felt purposeful and ask them, what happened? What about that specific experience was so meaningful to you? What about that felt so purposeful to you? What about that contribution was so meaningful to you? So when we start to get curious, we start to invite people to share stories, we can get at the core of what really drives them and what really motivates them. And too many people at work are not having conversations like that. They're not clear on who they're helping and why it matters. And it's one of the reasons they're disengaged. So one of the things employees really, really want, especially now, is they want to feel like they're making a contribution and they're connected to an organization that stands for more than just making money. The second thing that we want to focus on is moving past anonymity. So when we feel anonymous at work, we feel the sense that we are not seen or heard or valued or recognized or appreciated. And Stephen Covey says that next to physical survival, the greatest need of a human being is psychological survival, to be understood, to be affirmed, to be validated, to be appreciated. And so a lot of people are not feeling that way at work. So there's several questions that you can integrate into your interactions to help address that. The first, most basic question, how can I best support you right now? Having that conversation with your people, checking in on them, not checking up on them, checking in as I'm genuinely caring and interested, checking up on as I'm micromanaging you and monitoring you. So we focus on that question, how can I best support you right now? It's also been talked about in previous sessions, but this idea of co-creation, inviting a group of employees, a representative group of employees to come together and collaborate and have a conversation around how might we foster a connection and community within this organization? What are we already doing that's working? And what new possibilities might we explore? Invite them into that process of designing, imagining, and implementing, and the feedback loop. When people are involved, they're engaged. Margaret Wheatley says that. Another thing we can do intentionally at an individual level is on a daily basis. I learned about this from Sean Aker, a best-selling author. He calls it the gratitude jumpstart. And you start your day by taking 2 minutes. Everyone can do this. You can put this on your calendar to be a recurring event where you, through email or through a text message on your phone, you send somebody a genuine and sincere message of gratitude or appreciation. A client, a coworker, a friend, a family member, a vendor partner that you work with. Start your day with that to start to rewire your brain. That recognition is so crucial and critical. And just get in the habit of starting to look for what's good in people, because we know that from Tony Schwartz from the Energy Project, that among high-performing teams, the ratio of positive feedback to negative feedback is 5.6 to 1, almost 6 times more praise than critiquing. On low-performing teams, it's 0.36 to 1, 3 times more critiquing than praise. Is it any wonder that the first set of teams are high-performing and the latter is low-performing? Not really. So think about the next time you're about to critique someone that you work with, think about when is the last time I genuinely expressed appreciation to them? And the last thing we want to focus on is moving past this place where people feel the sense of immeasurement. And the antidote to immeasurement is career growth and development. So when people don't feel like measurement means people don't have the sense that they can track their own progress or track their own growth or impact over time. And so they feel the sense of helplessness. So when we invite them into that space and we say, no, we want to help you get clarity around the path that you are on here and how we can help support it. So there's a practice you can put in place called the ROSE exercise. You can do this weekly or monthly. Absolutely do it more than quarterly. Quarterly is not sufficient enough. And what you do is you ask a series of 4 questions to your people. You ask them, what was a rose from this week? What was something you accomplished, some progress that you made, something that you impacted in some way that you're proud of? Then we focus on the stem. What is something that you learned or a way that you grew? Then we look at the thorn. Everyone has thorns. No one wants to talk about them. What was the thorn? What was something that didn't go right, that didn't go the way you expected, that if you could redo it, you would, and here's how you do it differently? What did you learn from it? And then lastly, what is a bud? What is something you're looking forward to, something you're eagerly anticipating? When we have opportunities to look back at what we've done well, to have a moment of genuine and healthy pride, when we can be consistently checking in with ourselves and asking, what am I learning and how am I growing? And when we can look forward to the future with hope and possibility and say, this is what I'm looking forward to, this is what I'm anticipating, personally or professionally, it helps people feel that sense of measurement and gets them in a cadence of checking in with themselves and gives you an opportunity to check in with them too. So in the midst of a time where we're dealing with so many issues with retention and turnover and resignation and disengagement, let's get back to basics and let's focus on what we can do to elevate cause or purpose so people feel relevant and they can answer the question, who am I helping and why does it matter? Let's connect to and think about how we can bring our people together to explore the ways that we can build and foster a sense of meaningful community and recognition and appreciation. And last but not least, let's see what we can do to be more intentional about checking in with people and getting clarity around what they're doing well, what they're accomplishing, and where they want to go in the future. Cause, community, and career. Those are the things that employees want most from work. If you want to connect further about this, I'm happy to send you a reading list of books that are really great for recognition and appreciation and employee engagement. Feel free to just send me a message on LinkedIn that says Hacking HR, and I will get you that list. So thank you all so much for your time. I hope there's something that you learned here today that you can take away as a tangible thing to put in place in your organization.